Hey everybody! Alright, well, our objective in math today at the beginning of chapter 14 is to step into telling time like you might have last year. So these are some first grade objectives that I just want to review for you at the beginning of our telling time chapter, but also for me so that I know that we're all on the same page as we move forward together. So let's take a look at some things that you probably have seen before. This is a clock, right? This is not the clock that you probably have around your house. The clock you see most often is a digital clock, and they're quite easy to read. We'll learn about them as well. This is called an analog clock, and an analog clock has hands. This clock has two hands. The longest hand is called the minute hand. Okay, it's longer. It points to these small little ticks around the outside of the clock. The hour hand is the shorter hand. It is going to tell you the hour and how close you are to the next hour. So you can do a lot of good telling time with just the hour hand. In fact, you could pull the minute hand off your clock and you could still almost perfectly tell time if you're careful observing where the hour hand points. So, two hands. You probably knew this from last year. Short hand counts the hours. Long hand points past those hours all the way to these little tiny ticks. We call them minutes around the outside of the clock. We will take a look at some clocks in a minute. I think you'll love it. Oh, here they are. So all of these are o'clocks. Now, what do I mean by o'clock? Well, if the minute hand is pointing all the way up to the top, that means you have caught it exactly on the hour. And it only happens once an hour, right? But if you notice, all of the minute hands are pointing way up here to the 12. Past the 12, in fact, all the way to the 0 that comes at the very beginning. There are no minutes yet. There are no minutes yet. And those no minute times at the beginning of every hour have a fancy name. They're called o'clock. Yeah. So what o'clock is it? Well, in order to answer that, you actually have to look at the hour hand, the short hand. What is that pointing at? So then it would be 5 o'clock. What is this one pointing at? So it would be 1 o'clock. This is stuff that you have seen before. 3 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Last year, you told time to the hour and you told time to the half hour. And that's what we'll be looking at next. Let me just write these down so you can see what it would look like. 5 o'clock, or the way most of us would probably see it would be like that, because it's using that o'clock. This is 1 o'clock, or most of us on our microwaves or on our oven would see it look like that. 3 o'clock, those two ways. 11 o'clock. This is probably the old-fashioned way of thinking about it, using numbers and the words, but it's good to know both. And the last thing that I'm going to review today as something you probably did last year are half past, or 30s, right? This is half an hour. So notice the big change. Instead of being up here by the 12, all of these, and I should use yellow because I used yellow last time. All of these times are half past, halfway around the clock. That's why we call it half past. They start at the 12 and then it goes around the clock. That's quarter past, around the clock, half past, around the clock. That's quarter to, or 3/4 past. kind of tricky. And then all the way up to o'clock. Okay, so it goes around the clock. We are looking at it at the very bottom. The bottom time, if you're counting minutes, are always 30 minutes. And I'll show you a couple ways to know that. Okay, so all the way around the clock. So if I was to start here and go all the way around the clock, that is a total of 60 minutes. So if you cut that in half, down here is going to be 30 minutes, right? So it's, you could count if you wanted. Lots of people love to do this. They'll count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, right? But when it's down at the bottom, you probably don't have to count all those numbers. You can just say, oh, bottom, 30, 30 at the bottom, 30, half past, halfway around 30. That's how I think of it anyway. So this time, oh no, something's very off with all of these hours. Now we've done the minute hands. We know they're all 30s. So I could put 30 at the back of all of these, right? But notice there's something very off with the hour hand. It's not pointing at the 4. It's not pointing at the 5. So what hour is it? It's in between. It's half past all of these numbers. It's halfway. Okay? That happens as time passes. It gets closer and closer to being the next hour. Okay, so think of yourself in your front yard. You are walking slowly towards your neighbor's yard. But are you in your neighbor's yard? No, you're just getting closer. So you're still in your yard. So even though it looks like this is getting close to the 5, I'm not in my neighbor's yard yet. I'm still in my yard. I'm getting closer, but it's still 4:30. And that's the way it would look. 4:30. Or you could say half past 4. This one is 7:30. This one is 9:30. If you're wondering about the rule, I always just say go back. If you're looking where it is, just go back. If you're looking where it is, just go back. This is not 1:30 yet. It's not the neighbor's yard. It's going to be 12:30, and that's kind of a little bit of a tricky one. Half past. So you could say half past 7, half past 9, half past 4. In fact, you probably have heard mom or dad say those words. It's kind of an old school kind of way of saying 12:30. Excellent. Well, those are the things I wanted to review today. Let's show you what I would like you to do for me. This is going to be a quick check. I want you to show me that you can count by 5s. So the first part of your quick check is to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Fill in the numbers on the top and the number words below. Keep going all the way to 60 because that's important on a clock to be able to get to 60 seconds, 60 minutes. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. And you can just read those words they give you. So see how they put the word 50 here? You would just write the number 50 above it, right? You want to make sure the number matches the word. So here they don't have 15, so I'm going to do my best to spell 15. If you miss a letter, this is not spelling. I'm not worried about it. Just do your best. I can tell what you're trying to say. 35 might be tough to put in that little box, but do your best. Down at the bottom here, you're going to be doing 2 o'clocks and 2 half pasts, just to see what you remember. This one in the middle here, though, is the tricky one. So on mine, on Seesaw, I gave you a number line to use to help you, but you could use the number line you're making as well. So you're going to find 10 more than 5. So you're going to find 5 right here, and then you have to go 10 more. So that's 5 more. 10 more than 5 is going to be 15. And that makes sense because if you have 5 and someone gives you 10 more, you get 15. Okay, this one's a little bit tough too. So 25 is 10 less. Okay, so hold on. 25 is 10 less than what number? I'm going to write it down over here. So here's 25. Some number over here became less to get to 25. What number is 10 less, or I should say 25 is 10 less than what number? Well, it had to be 35 because we lost 10. See, we had 3 10s. Whoop! Now we have 2 10s. So 25 is 10 less. Well, look at you. If you stayed for the last minute of my video, I did the 2 tough problems for you. You're welcome. See you, friends.